Okay, now the second category, which is service characteristics. It's about the service time distribution. So first, let's define what is service time. It's very simple. Service time, it's the time that it takes a customer to get his service. So if you go to the bank, the service time is the time that it will take you for the teller to finish your transactions, whether you are wiring money, you are depositing a check, or wherever, right? So this is service time. Also here we know that service time is not constant. It would be constant in very, very special case. For example, in automatic car wash. Why is that? Because service time is not dictated only by the system that is available there, but also with the customer interaction, right? And because you cannot control your customer, that means you have no control on the service time. That's why in most of the cases, the service time is random. Okay, so think about the bank. It may take you 3 minutes to finish your transaction with your teller, but somebody else may take him 5 minutes or 7 minutes. You never know how people think, right? So that's why in most cases it would be random. Now, also here, we are lucky enough that historically people have been collecting data and they found out that service time follows a known distribution, which is the exponential probability distribution. All right, don't get scared, guys, when you see the Poisson, the exponential. I'm not going to bring you back to your managerial statistics days, right? This only you need to know that the models are based on these assumptions. You're not going to develop this probability yourself. We have probability statements given to us, and we're going to use it as is. Before I proceed with the other characteristics, just a quick aside note that about the distribution, the Poisson distribution and the service time. So we agreed that in general, arrival rates are random and they follow Poisson distribution, and service time also are random and they follow exponential distribution. However, it's good to know that there's a relationship between these two distributions. What is it? They give you the same information. Look at this. For example, if we are told that service time is exponential, then we can say that the service rate follows a Poisson distribution, right? This is very important because in some cases we are given service rate and we need to find service time, or vice versa. So just a quick example, if we are told that service time follows an exponential distribution with a mean of 6 minutes, that means we can tell that the service rate, which means how many customers per time unit can be served, right? This is the service rate, follows a Poisson distribution and it has a mean of 10, right? So how did we get that? Service time 6 minutes, meaning that in every 6 minutes, okay, we have one customer being served. What about in 60 minutes? How many customers will be served? So this is our rate. So we do that 60 times 1 over 6. So that would be 10. Okay. What else? Let me just clear this up a bit. Okay. All right. So the same applies for the customer's arrival rate, which we know that it's Poisson, which means that the time between arrivals, it's another variable, follows an exponential distribution. An example, customers arrive at a rate, this is the average, 10 customers per hour, right? It follows a Poisson distribution. That means I can tell that, you know, if you measured another variable, which is the time between arrivals. So you are standing at the entrance of the bank, one customer arrived, you record his arrival time, another guy arrived after 3 minutes, this is the inter-arrival time, okay? Also a variable that follows an exponential distribution, and you can tell its parameter, right? So it's 6 minutes in this case. All right, the second information about the service characteristics is how you're designing your queuing system. All right, here it's very important that you distinguish the different designs. So capacity of a queuing system is function of what? Function of the capacity of each server For example, in a bank, a teller can serve, let's say, 10 customers per hour. So the other, of course, information that you need is how many servers you have. All right, that's why you will see later that we have then two kinds of models, a single server and multiple server, because the number of servers is very important. Now, a service system is also classified in terms of not only the number of servers, so single versus multiple servers, as I just mentioned, but also what about the phases? Does the customer need to go through different phases to get his final service? I'm going to explain that in a second, but first, let me just turn your attention to something that sometimes you have a group of people delivering one service for a customer. Here, it's not because you have seen that you have, let's say, 3 people working, that means it's a multiple server. No, this is one server. Why is that? Because our definition for the server is that it is the entity, whether it's a person or a group of people, or sometimes it can be a machine that can deliver the service that the person is asking for. So this is one server only, right? Keep this in mind, because this will be a critical information in some problems. Okay, now let's see the differences among the different designs. So in general, when I'm going to illustrate a system, I'm going to show customers in these circles, and these are the servers. Okay, so what's happening here? These are customers waiting in line, and when there's the first one in line will go and get the service, and then he will exit the system here, right? What do we call that? As you can see here, we have one single server and it's a single phase. We are saying that the customer will go get the service and he will exit here, so single phase. What about this one? Here we can see that people are waiting also in one line in front of one server, so it's a single server, but then they are not exiting the system yet here, right? They are not exiting it here. They are going to another phase, so they are waiting again in line and getting in front of the other server, and then here they are exiting. An example of that is what? Drive-through, right? So you order you place your order here at the window, and then you collect your items and you pay at the second window, and you leave the system. So we call that single server, two phases. We may have also such design. What do you think about this design? So you can see these, I have here these 3 squares, and I'm using these for servers. So I have here 3 servers, and they are waiting in one line. So, and you can see that after they get the service, they are leaving here. So we call that a multiple servers, and to be precise, this is a 3 servers system and a single phase. While here, we can see that this is a multiple servers, but we have 2 phases. Finally, about the design, it's very important for you to know difference between 2 designs whenever you have multiple servers. So you can either have this system, the blue system, let's call it, and the yellow system. What is the difference between these two? Let me ask you this question first. When do you think it's better, much better, to go for the yellow system, this one, not the blue system? Think about it. All right, we use the yellow system whenever we have people with different needs for different services, if you want. For example, you go to a supermarket and you have you always have this cashier or a station where they can serve the people who have purchased less than 10 items. Why this? Because this is very fair, or in fact it's unfair to let people who are buying only 1 or 2 items to stand in a long line behind people who have trolleys full of merchandise, right? So you do that whenever you have heterogeneous customers, while the blue line is better whenever you have homogeneous customers. All right, so this is the main difference between these two. I'm not going to go in details about that. You can read it on your own, the difference between these two, the advantages of the blue line. Mainly, the blue line is faster. This is something that you need to know. Even though they can serve or because a server does not have really to wait, like in the yellow line, in the yellow system does not really have to wait. Maybe this line is now empty, but he cannot serve the other line because the design does not allow for that. This is not the case in the blue line. That's why here it's much faster. Okay. And let me just tell you this, that the model that we're going to learn, it assumes a one line only. So we're not going to incorporate the yellow system. And the last part of, or the last piece of information that we need in order to build a waiting line model is the Q discipline. What do you mean by the Q discipline? Q discipline is how do you prioritize your arrivals? Whom is served first? You may ask the question, isn't it obvious? We're going to serve the first person who come in. You're right about that, but it's not always the case. Okay, this is what we know as first come first serve, which is the most obvious way to organize or prioritize your arrivals, and it's the fairest, right, whenever you have people who are arriving. However, you should know that there are other disciplines. We're not going to use them, but you should know that we have shortest processing time, where you process, for example, orders that take the least time first, and then you leave the one that take longer time for later. For different reasons, I'm not going to discuss that here. Sometimes you have random triage. Maybe I need to spend some time here. Triage, think about it, this is a system that's applied in the emergency room, hospital emergency room, where you cannot treat patients arriving at first come first serve basis. Why is that? Because if you have 5 people in the emergency room and suddenly one guy who is having a heart attack is showing up, you cannot tell him, look, you're the 6 people, so the doctor will see you number 6. You cannot do that. This is why we have a triage room, where a nurse will assess the situation of every arriving patient, and according to that, he or she will be given a certain priority, and the doctor will see them according to that priority. Okay, in your textbook, Stevenson textbook, it explains that model. However, it's a little bit too complicated for an introductory course like ours, so we're not going to use it. In our case, it's only first come first serve discipline.